Bowls, I think there's a view that a large percentage of clubs are looking after their own greens. Is there any figures out there to say what kind of the split is between professionally maintained and volunteers?
No, we haven't got no specific data, but certainly I think it will probably be very much along the lines of a 50-50 split. And in saying that, that's probably 50% of the clubs who are wholly responsible for the green themselves, with volunteers who are doing that job as a volunteer, a member of that club voluntarily each week. We've also then probably got a number who are being cared for by professional contractors who are probably on a retainer or whatever it might be. And then finally, of course, we've got the council greens. So that's probably the split there. But yes, you're right, probably at least 50% of clubs look after it, you know, and that's a team of people within a club doing all that work. So
as time goes by, I guess the percentage of council maintained greens is becoming less and less.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the council certainly are, from the knowledge we get, they're either looking to offer the clubs to take over the running of the green, the maintenance of the green themselves. Some councils are looking to just step away totally. Other councils are perhaps still doing the job but reducing the number of times that they cut. So, for example, councils perhaps cut 3-4 times a week. Some are even trying to get away with 2 cuts a week now, and that's one of the real issues that we face, is trying to make the councils aware that the standard of the bowling green is absolutely critical to the enjoyment of our members on the bowling green. And
encouraging new people.
Exactly. And so I think certainly that's the message we're trying to get through to councils when we speak to them, is saying, you know, to every mow that's missed, you know, and if you start talking perhaps twice a week rather than 3 times a week, in some sports it perhaps, no disrespect, doesn't make much difference to a football pitch, but to a bowling green it makes a massive difference, and that's one of the messages we try and get over to them.
I think as time goes by, the more and more volunteers are going to be getting involved, because not many clubs, I would imagine, would have the resource to employ a professional contractor.
Yeah. Only
the bigger clubs, I guess, can do that. Standards of the quality of the surface, are there guidelines out there from the counties or from Bowls England?
It's actually the counties that are responsible for the greens in their area, and various counties will have various mechanisms of doing that. Some will do an annual inspection, and I'm aware that, you know, sometimes they'll perhaps say, well, the green is fine in that direction but not in another direction, or different marks, and we'll rate them accordingly.
I think there are other resources out there as well. I know a number of the manufacturers and suppliers, Dennis for instance, do run seminars on a regional basis. Do you get involved with those at all?
We do, yeah. We have actually worked with Dennis in the past and have attended their seminars, and again that's a real good opportunity, and forgive the pun, to sort of get down to the grassroots. It's, you know, we often have meetings that are perhaps attended by county officials and administrators. The Dennis seminars or such like is an opportunity to actually meet the greenkeepers, some people that you may otherwise not come across.
Yeah. So from a greenkeeping perspective, those greenkeepers that you're interacting with, the concerns they're raising, is there a common theme, or are they all very much different?
I think every club is different in some way. I think, you know, when it's a greenkeeper themselves, probably the major issues that they would raise is perhaps regarding equipment, and one of the biggest ways we can probably help them is trying to find the finance to actually get the new equipment. I think obviously when it's a club that contacts us rather than the greenkeeper, the issues they're facing is probably more to do with maintenance, councils, or liaising with contractors.
So over the years you've been involved in the game then, what do you think has been the most important development? And we can look at that in 2 ways. We can look at that for the game in general, and possibly in the way that greens are maintained. Right.
I would certainly say, I mean, in terms of the game itself, certainly I think the introduction of colour, and I think the sport has come a long way in 10-15 years, but perhaps it's still a long way, it's still got a lot more catching up to do, you know. But in terms of, I think we would say the introduction of colour, and if you look around today you'll see the majority of people are wearing county colours, and, you know, the variety of bowls and that is far more attractive than just the brown or the black that used to be there. So I think that we have moved forward, and if you compare it to that period of time, massive change, you know, and hopefully if there's a similar level of change over the next 10 years, again it will see that the sport will have grown into something fit for the 21st century. In terms of the greenkeeping side, I think the biggest change probably is that, and this is probably a negative in some ways, is that a lot of places now, the knowledge that was there in the past has gone, you know, and the greenkeepers of the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s, they were so knowledgeable and could really, they were greenkeepers. A lot of people now are trying to do it with goodwill, and I think that's where we need to be trying to help them to say, no, this, you know, these are how you get into there. So
that's where you'll help with IOG and
exactly.
The seminars
we
with
want to,
Dennis and
you know,
like
we
that,
want to pass on the knowledge and the education to this new generation that are coming in. So one generation of greenkeepers are probably just about on the way, and we're now looking at bringing that next lot through. Certainly the actual equipment that's available now and the choice of equipment probably better than ever, and I think that's certainly, you know, that's certainly to the advantage of the new generation of greenkeepers that are coming into the sport.
And I think that's only going to go and continue because we get access to see some of what the things that are being developed at the moment. And,
yeah,
it's constant.
And again, you know, I mean, we've not touched on it, but sort of, you know, things like the cassettes and that are available make it a lot easier for a club now, you know, perhaps a club on limited resources. If there is a mower outside there, they can actually change a cassette rather than having to buy 2, 3, 4 machines.
Yeah, exactly.
Is far better, and that sort of technological development can only improve. And again, who knows, perhaps in a few years' time we may be able to move on to things like advice on the iPad or on the apps or whatever it might be, so that if somebody actually sees a problem, there's some advice to hand straight away that perhaps means we don't have to send people trawling around the country to offer advice to clubs. That can be a bit more self-help. But
I know in rugby, for instance, Keith Kent, the head groundsman at Twickenham, he's done a whole series of advice articles.
Right,
so,
yeah.
You know, maybe you can find somebody like that that can do it. You know, Bowl's own Keith Kent.
Correct. Yes.
Lastly, and thank you again for your time here today, Alistair. If you've got a vision or a wish for the game,
yep,
what would it be over the next few years?
I think the key thing, I'm not going to say to survive, but I think that the sport certainly needs to try and look forward and just say, you know, what we offer at the moment, how do we make that more attractive to more people? You know, and certainly it is a case of saying the more flexible formats, not more welcoming, there's nowhere more welcoming than a bowls club, but I think it needs to recognise that what suits one person may not suit another, and we as a sport need to recognise that. And whether if it's Joe Bloggs and 2 of his mates who just want to come for a roll up on a Monday afternoon and have two or 3 drinks afterwards, that's great. You know, if there's somebody who wants to go and have a tea and scones and a 21N match on a Saturday, that's great as well. But we as a sport need to recognise that there are many different reasons why people want to play bowls, and as such we need to respond to that probably better than we have done in the past.
Alistair, that's a great way to end. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
You get back to your championships.
Thank you.